Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the Englishman here. I'm doing a speedrunning tutorial for Papo y Yo. I'm running on the PC version, came out originally for PS3. Although PS3 is pretty doable for casual play, I would recommend that if you're going to speedrun this game, you do it on PC. So first things first, your graphics settings, you might, depending on your computer, I mean I don't have a good enough computer to run this on max settings, but if you do, that's fine. Just be sure to find a setting that works for you that has very fast load times, because this is timed with RTA standards because of the way that loading times work in this game. You should make sure that you can actually do that. So first thing you want to do is rebind your keys. You go to the reassign keys here. There are a couple of things by default you want to do. First of all, you want to make sure that since you can bind two different keys to every action, the way that I set this up, unless I know that there are some other people who play on gamepad, but I play on keyboard and mouse. If you play on keyboard and mouse, you will want to leave left mouse and right mouse button where they are for right now, and make sure you have scroll up for grab and scroll down. Sorry, scroll down for calling Lula. That's really gonna help you. Because the default for Lula is Q. You will need that for a couple of maps, but it won't necessarily do that. And I mean, if you want to include, I mean, my defaults are T and Y for hats, but I mean, if you want, do whatever you want for that. It's just by default scroll up and down you use for the hats, and you want to really be able to use scroll up and down however you want to. So I have a chat going currently. I'm streaming this tutorial live. If they want to ask any questions about what I'm doing, go ahead. So the checkpoint I have right here is growing up, the final boss. But when you start an attempt, you always want to make sure that you load the first checkpoint, always. If you don't, then the loading time for the initial point is going to be a little off. You're going to be behind by about a second or two for no good reason. So first things first. Once you have a Strange New World, which is the first checkpoint loaded, you go into Start New Game, and then immediately after about a second or two you hit pause. This game has a very long opening cutscene, which can be paused at any time, and then you go into the exit menu. And this is called checkpoint warping. You'll notice that it now goes back to Strange New World, even if you were to say, if I were to open up another checkpoint, let's just say, and then go back and start a new game. As soon as I go back to that, it's like when it fades to white, it'll go back to a Strange New World. That skips the opening cutscene. That saves about a minute going into this. So, anyway, yeah, it skips the opening cutscene. You go through this first portal. You could use any hat you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I like the foot hat, though. So, first things first, you run down here. This is a good place to practice one of the main physics tricks, which is the E-jump. When you go across here, you have about a quarter of a second in which to jump over. And if you do it right, you'll be able to jump on this little part here, which will save about a quarter of a second maybe. And then from here you could do another E-jump, which I failed. Now going up, you want to use this plank of wood as a point of reference for jumping into this cutscene. You'll notice that I'm already over here when I started over there. You could jump into quite a few of the cutscenes in this game. So here we have the first major switch of the game. It's designed to go all the way in and out. Although, you don't need to put it in all the way. You can, I think it's like half a second. You should practice this, try and get this a little bit. I tend to, like, you see those little planks here, there's something what I call plankless. You can theoretically pull this out all the way and still be able to get up here without having these planks fall down. And if you know that, you know it's particularly fast. So, let me try and see if I can do this. That's a little too fast. Usually you want to hold it for like between half a second and 3/4 of a second. Like that. Even that's a little slow. But that's still pretty good. It's really just an instinctive bit of timing. So coming up when you go up here, there is a cutscene that is triggered. First of all, you want to take two corner jumps. Jump over here, and then make sure there's a cutscene trigger on that little red roof over there. You want to jump around it. Like this. And once you do that, normally when you go into here, you trigger this cutscene of Alejandra waving at you, but because I jumped over it, it doesn't trigger. That also puts a bit of Alejandra's scripting into the wrong area, where she will still be waving at you when you hit the switch. this is one of the main reasons why I like putting scroll up and scroll down for the use button, because it really helps for hitting switches like this. And like I mentioned before, I have a chat. I'm streaming this tutorial initially, so if anyone in the chat wants to ask any basic questions about what you would really need to do to get this starting this going, then by all means. So I've tried many times to jump over here. You can't really do it. You have to extend it. It's just out of reach. The game generally has pretty lenient level design, but not always. You also want to practice taking this corner here. You can sort of e-jump from there. It's a little risky though, particularly if you had a pretty good run to start with. Generally, I take it from right about here is generally a good spot for it. But if you have a high frame rate going into this area and you think you're good enough at e-jumping, you can sort of take that little shortcut. Or if you think you had a bad start and you want to make up some time, and then from there you can jump from here. Keep in mind that when you come back here in Act 3, this area stutters a lot. It's not just my computer. I mean, even some of the people that I race against who have much better rigs than mine find that this area stutters a lot. So there are, when you get up to here, an E-jump is an extended jump. You have about a quarter of a second of time after you've fallen off a platform to jump again. It allows you in some cases to make jumps that are longer than the game expects you to be able to do, without Lula anyway. The timing on this is a little tight, but again, it's not worth, this particular E-jump is not worth risking your entire run over. I mean, it's only a quarter of a second, and I mean, it doesn't waste that much time. This E-jump is also a lot harder when you come back here in Act 3, just because of the aforementioned stuttering. So here you want to just sort of stay close to the corners. Coming up is another switch where you don't have to pull it all the way. You only have to pull for like about half a second or so, just enough to let this last piece sort of sneak in here. You can sort of, if you find that you put a little short, you can sort of like wiggle up against the wall here. Now, in this next part, the game expects you to go around here. There's this little platform here where the game sort of tries to load, but you can have a collision error sort of wiggling a little under here. You can sort of jump under it. There's a bit of a bug over here. Generally speaking, when you got the timing right, you don't even need to jump. And then you can do a small E-jump over here, and then another one. And because we skipped the cutscene earlier, Alejandra does not move at all. It sometimes happens even when you trigger the cutscene, but not always. So even though you can technically jump down here, it's not really safe, just because you're expected to get over here, and once you hit this platform, it will collapse on you every time. That's just part of the scripting of this area, unfortunately. Otherwise it could save like about 15-20 seconds. I might need to experiment with that a little further. Anyway, you go down here. If you're doing a hats per set run, you would jump down here to get the hat. Hats per set is something which I really don't think I would ever do, just because it would take a lot of time to set up. So, yeah, I haven't been getting a lot of questions from the chat, but I'll try and cover as much as I can. This little dialogue can be skipped by jumping over the fence. However, there's no real benefit to it because it actually ends up being slower. Although, actually, I'll have to see if it but as far from the testing that I've been able to do, it's a little slower. So then you hit this switch. I'm always afraid that the frogs that are on this map are going to interfere with the staircase. It has not happened in a run yet, but just keep that in mind. You might want to dodge around the frogs if given the chance. So unlike the previous two switches that we had, this staircase you want to drag all the way out. Just because if you don't, then it goes back. There are only a couple of areas in the game that really do this. This is one of them. So this first video will cover the first act of the game, up until we actually meet Monster. And then up here is pretty standard stuff. You just move up here. You want to do an E-jump sort of off of here, where, generally speaking, when I hit this cutscene, I want to hit it at under 3 minutes. Generally, I can get like a 255 or 256 going into here, and once again, you jump into the cutscene. Timing's a bit off, just because of the stuttering. The game expects you to go around here, and this is a good introduction to something I call the scramble jump, which is an exploit in the game's engine, where if you jump a little too early, you can still sort of manipulate it by sort of tapping around it. The game expects you to go around here, but it saves about 4 or 5 seconds if you can scramble jump onto this corner and down. So in this next section, the game expects you to go down here. There is a little cutscene trigger over here. This trick was discovered, I believe, by Index Papa. I failed it. It's pretty tight timing, and there are actually several different ways to set it up. It can get pretty complicated. You know, sort of little you jump off there, but the idea is you jump back, and you could just. I mean, it's a good thing that the game sort of checkpoints you right here, because I mean this takes a while to practice. I mean, not even I can get it really consistently. It's not a run killer if you don't get it, but it helps. Even if you don't get it, you can still get in a little jump like that, and that helps you when you get into that little area there. So yeah, if I could actually get it, it's much harder to do it without moving, which is the way that the game intends you to do it. Let's see if I can actually get it this time. There we go. Okay, I had it there. The idea is that, again, I apologize for not really doing this that well. It's a difficult trick, and I'm used to doing it without moving, or without stopping at all, whereas I have to sort of stop to show you guys what's happening. Okay, so once you're up here, the idea is that you jump down in front of the block that the girl is right next to here, and if you time it just right, which I didn't, but I'm not going to redo it because I got it there, you can grab the box during the cutscene. That's another benefit of having scroll down. So you can do this. The game expects you to do this house puzzle in 4, although you could do it in 3, and there's actually an achievement for it. The placement of the blocks can be a little iffy, depending on how you do it. I find that this placement is a little more consistent, particularly since you can use this box to jump up here. You don't necessarily have to go over to where that is. You can use this, and then if you do it right, you can time e-jumps, which I didn't make it. That last box is really finicky. I have lost runs off of the three house strap before. For the longest time, I didn't even do it because I just thought it was too risky. But I can just show it off for you guys here. I said I could show it off for you guys here. Yeah, I'm in a little bit of stage fright. 3 house is very difficult. I would just say go with 4 house to start, and then once you master that, you should go for 3 house. So, well, you know, there's actually a little bit of a platform here where you can jump up to and sort of land. So you don't actually have to go over to where the barrier is. Anyway, as I mentioned before, I am streaming this, and I will take any Q&As that people have. So the game expects you to walk around here. This is a relatively new trick. This is the next instance of a checkpoint exploit. You go into the main menu and pause, and then hit continue, and it puts you in front of here. It not only has the benefit of being a little bit faster, just by about a second or two, but also the platforming, sort of the movement is really stuttery going in here, and it's very easy to lose time just by accidentally moving in the wrong direction because you don't know where you're going. So this is probably the first. I mean, aside from the house puzzle, this next trick is probably the single biggest run killer early in the game that you'll find, at least in Act 1, which is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to try and explain this in a bit of detail, but there's only so much I can do considering that it is pretty heavily timed. So first thing is you walk up to this platform, walk up to this thing here, and then you go over, and you want to, I'm going to pause here, just sort of explain. You want to move to the right as you see the block on the right here. You want to move towards the right, and it will zip you up. I'm going to show that again. It's kind of hard to explain the movement in real time just because it happens very quickly, and there are a lot of different factors that will change how you approach the trick. But the way that I do it normally is you get into the corner here, and then you head right as soon as you see it, and that actually was very close. If you stand in the corner here for more than like half a second, you can't really do it when they're already here, but you know you will have failed when you sort of get stuck in that corner for about a second and then you get warped back over to here, at which point you can just try it again. It's good for practicing. Another good thing is that you don't have to move at all when the block is resetting itself. You can just do this, which allows you to take a little break if you have problems with your hands like I do. I'm gonna see if I could actually fail it just to show you what it's like. Wow, this is going so badly that even when I try to fail, I don't. Anyway, the point is that you use the zip to get up to here, and then you hit this switch, jump off, and then go back to this, and it should be able to set you up for the whole puzzle area here. This saves about 1.5 minutes when compared to doing it normally, which also means that you're able to go through the door the first time when Alejandra does. And you'll also notice that the little physics plank here is still here, which is normally gets knocked off once you have to hit the first one. Once again, when you go into this cutscene, you jump, and you can sort of hit it, sort of get into here. Like I said, Q&A is always helpful, chat. Anyway, you don't need to pull this out all the way. You only need to pull out for about 1.5 seconds, like 1, 2.5, something like this. Just enough to let you squeeze in there. That's actually a little... It's been a long time since I've undershot this. You sort of squeeze in there, and then it allows you to... the game expects you to pull it all the way out, but you don't have to. You only have to do it for like 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. The next part can be a bit complicated. Once you do this, you don't want to move it. You want to move it as far towards the where the ladder will be before you drop it. And then you go over to here, grab the ladder as normal, and then if you've lined it up properly, you should be able to get around this and throw it without taking any steps. And that will allow you to save about 1 second or 2 of moving over. And then you can save another 1/4 second by jumping onto here, which I didn't do, but you can you can jump onto this barrier and then go over here, and if you hold it down, you can get a glitch where he stands in midair like that. And then you want to tap W to make sure you run as fast as you can, going into here, and then you just sort of want to stick to the corner and then move. The trigger for the next area is just to get in front of the car. You don't really need to do anything else. Although you do want to make sure that you stay, you know, within a relatively straight line. The physics work the same way. Also, you can spam the Lula button and make Kiko call for Lula before he even gets her, or him. Lula's gender is never really emphasized. So now the game gets even more broken once you have Lula with you. And we're going to keep going until the end of Act 1. That's going to be our threshold for, you know, I think one video per act should be enough. So anyway, once you get up here, the game will stutter once again for loading. So you want to keep the camera right about here to avoid the stuttering, and if you stutter, you can accidentally fall off, and that pretty much kills the run right there. So then you take a little corner here, and then there's another checkpoint exploit right about when you get to here. It saves the checkpoint, and then you can skip the little tutorial where Lula teaches you how to double jump, how to hover with her. So then you go over here. Pretty standard stuff. You want to sort of cut the corner as much as you can here to make sure that you hit this checkpoint as early as you can. It's not really a checkpoint because there's still only checkpoints individually per map, but the cutscene where Lula says how to hit switches. On switches like this, you generally want to use mouse down as opposed to Q. There's only one instance where you want to use Q. So when there's a little bit of stuttering, there's a trick here to skip part of this area, or to skip the little bit of the puzzle here. You want to line yourself up over here, do an extended jump, and then hover, and then you can go over here. The timing is much more difficult when the platform is moving, but you should be able to get it. Now I'll try and show off a little bit of an entertainment glitch. If you feel like showing off during your runs, there's a neat little thing where you can sort of you can jump off of the monster here, and you can actually activate this area without having... Unfortunately, the Lula switch still does not activate until after the platform, but if you go up to here, and it's a little easier to do with the gamepad, but if you can jump onto this pipe, not like that, but I'll try and... You want to basically use this as a platform, jump up to here, and sort of wiggle around, and once you get on the pipe, you can do this. It's cool. It has absolutely no benefit. It could potentially kill your run, but I mean, if you like to show off, that's a perfect opportunity for you. Anyway, so the next trick that you want to do is you want to hit the switch and then quickly run back in. That skips a little bit of the puzzle. Next thing is pipe zipping, which you want to sort of go against the platform here. It allows you to sort of get a collision error on pipes and move a lot faster than you normally would. Although the game does have problems with when there are when you're moving from one pipe to another. It's possible for Kiko to get stuck, so you have to sort of anticipate where the different pipe objects end and sort of make sure that you jump before the pipe ends, because you'll sort of keep your momentum and you won't be able to stop, or you'll stop instead. So this is more of an example of my pipe zipping's not too good here. But anyway, this next trick is called Q-Load. This is probably the one instance where you want to use Q to call for Lula instead. It's similar to the other one. You want to jump into here while you use Q. If you press more than once, there's a glitch, which I can't really show off here because I didn't think ahead. But if you press this more than once, if you press the Lula switch more than once on this map, the pipe goes up and then it goes back down again. So that's why you only want to use only want to use it for that. There's also a glitch where you can sort of skip the slow-mo here, but it's almost never happens. So you can also sort of pipe zip, but only up until you see Monster's shadow here. And you want to make sure you walk in a relatively straight line because there's a bit of stuttering, at least on my machine. I think there's stuttering on anyone else's, on a couple other people's as well. So coming up is going to be the final map of this part of the tutorial. This trick is a bit complicated. I'm going to have to try and explain it the best I can. But first thing, you want to try and jump and hover and get the cutscene activated as late as you can. So after Monster goes into his little hut there, you jump on here. You generally want to hover with Lula even though it's slower, just to make sure you got this lined up. And then jump down here again. Now, you want to initially put the first the first two blocks you do as normal. You always want to get the one closest to you first. So put the two blocks down, and then we're going to be skipping the last part of the puzzle where Lula grabs the third block away from you. There's an invisible wall over here, which I will demonstrate. You see, I hit the invisible wall, but the invisible wall has a height that's around like there. So if you take a couple of steps down from the case here, you'll actually fly under the invisible wall, and you're able to grab this block without having to get the second one, which is where normally Alejandra spawns and gets into there, and you have to chase her. It's an annoying puzzle. You want to make sure that this is the last one you pick up. Otherwise, you will soft lock the game, where Alejandra will steal the block that you're carrying, and you won't be able to move because you're stuck. So yeah, you line it up here, throw it, make sure you do get on the top, on top of here, and that's it for Act 1. When you go to the portal, Act 2 starts, and then we get to some more pretty crazy tricks. So thank you for watching this tutorial. It's been a pleasure playing this for you. I hope that this will inspire some people to get started in Papo y Yo speedrunning, because I would love the competition. And I will see you guys for Act 2 in the next video.